800-951-0592. Got really a good opportunity here. $20 gold pieces. We've talked about how expensive they've become. Right now, if you go online, right, we're looking at 2,540. But I've got a great opportunity here. It's a weird amount, but this is what we've got. We've got 112 $20 gold pieces. They're Liberties, the older ones, 1866 to 1907. It's all about price here. $2,495, $2,495. If you think about it, that was our price on last Friday. So you've gotten this whole, $50+ gold move since then. So this is like being able to go back in time, right, and buy $20 gold before the move. Today, $10 pieces for the first time in weeks now. 210's more expensive than these 20s at $24.95. $10 pieces now all the way to $1,250. So take advantage here. We got 112 of them. I'm not going to put them online yet. If they go, I won't put them online at all because literally we cannot replace them at this price. Matter of fact, the next price point isn't even the $2,540. You'll be looking at almost $2,600 because we'll have to go all the way up to the AU to get any more. So these 112, $2,495 at 800-951-0592. The Fed has announced that U.S. banks borrowed $475 billion last week. So the number keeps growing. 2 weeks ago, they said $300 billion. Last week, they said $400 billion. This week, $475 billion. By the way, over $500 billion has been withdrawn from small banks in the 2 weeks since Silicon Valley Bank had gone under. As mentioned, right, $475 billion last week. Here's how it broke down. The large banks, $250 billion. The small banks, $250 billion. Foreign banks, $25 billion from these small banks. Now, I'm doing math. That actually adds up to more than the 475. But, hey, who's counting here? What they're trying to show is these small banks, Jason, borrow just as much as the big banks. But when you look at it in the terms of total deposits, they're borrowing at a rate 2 and 3 times that of what the big banks have been borrowing from the Fed.
Yeah, well, there's some logic to that. Obviously, they need it. They need it to shore up their bad assets. So it's a clear indicator that these banks are trying to hold on and not be the next Silicon Valley bank, right, Joe? That's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, they're saying that over the last year, that $1 trillion had been withdrawn from what they call the most vulnerable banks. I don't know what banks those are. Obviously, Silicon Valley, Signature, but I don't know what the other ones are. Half of that, $500 billion, had been withdrawn since Silicon Valley went under. That data from JP Morgan. New Fed data says that banks lost $100 billion in deposits just last week alone. So this thing, they're trying to tell you on the news, oh, it stopped. Not really. Okay, Maybe it's not 200 billion a week, but it's still at 100 billion. Here's the breakdown on that. Large banks gained $67 billion in deposits. Okay, so these are going to be, right, we talked about it. These are probably larger uninsured deposits moving out of small banks into big banks. Small banks. Now, you would expect this number to be fairly close to that 67 billion that was picked up by the big banks. Jason, it wasn't. 120 billion actually left the small banks. So almost double.
53.
Yeah,
53
that
billion
extra
unaccounted for.
$53 billion did not go to the banks. Right? A lot of that went into gold. A lot of that probably went into places like Joey, all right? Joey, Northwestern, they're not a bank, right? Money markets. By the way, foreign banks, they lost $45 billion of deposits. So really, when you look at it, 120 plus 45 minus the 67, Jason, we had $98 billion worth of deposits leave the banking system.
Yeah, that's 53 billion. There's a lot of places that money can go. There's no way that I think all of that went to gold. Obviously, it's got to be.
No, gosh, no. There would be. We wouldn't have gold.
We'd have nothing
for months.
But I actually wonder a little bit, Joe. I wonder if some of that went into real estate. I mean, even though real estate doesn't look good right now, at least it can't be taken from your bank, it's so to speak. It can't be your deposits withheld, so to speak. So any asset, right?
It's interesting. Mortgages, applications to purchase a home fell last week 4%. It had been picking up, but Jason, they just said, hey, listen, there's not a lot of houses out there because, well, let's face it, anyone who's got a mortgage of 3 or 4%, their house isn't going to hit the market no matter what. And consequently, there's just not a lot of activity going on there. But you're right. I'm sure some of it went there.
I'll bet some of that would have been direct buy, Joe. Some of that would have been cash buying. Why get them? If you're a big, heavy billions you're pulling out or multi-millions, if you're going to buy property with it, you're not going to have a mortgage, right? You're just going to just buy something, right? Just put it into something that's not the bank, right?
Yeah. But again, like I said, applications to buy a home down 4%. But you're right, cash buying is a huge part of it, right? I think all cash sales were over 30% of all the purchases that were happening. So we'll continue to watch some very interesting information starting to come out now about how big the hole really was. Patriot Radio News Hour will be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Gold and silver both just went positive here. Gold 2023 up $1. Silver is up a cent now at $25.11. The sale today, $20 Liberties at $2,495. So that's like, dude, it's a one-day time, go back in time. So you get to buy it before, we had a up $10 day on Monday. We had an up $40 day yesterday, right? You're buying it before that move. And I've got a feeling, and I'd say, you know what? I'm probably 70-30 on these feelings of mine. I think gold, I wouldn't be surprised if gold ends up somewhere around 2030 or 2040 today. That's just the feeling that I have. We'll have to see how that plays out. But $2,495, that is what, $45 off the current price. We had a weird amount, right? We had 112 or 117. I think it was 112. But we have less than that now. So pick them up while you can. The $10 pieces, they shot up now. So their 210s is now $2,500. So at least, hey, this is now the new cheapest way to do it. 800-951-0592 Central Banks. Jason, guess what? Should be no shock. Continued to pile into gold. Believe it or not, it was the best first 2 months. We don't have a March number yet. The best first 2 months of the year going back decades. So again, last year was a record. Okay, that was an all-time record, over 1,100 metric tons bought by central banks. I don't think we're going to get another record this year just because the price of gold is going to be a lot more this year. There's no doubt in my mind, but it's still going to be a really big amount. If I was to guess, probably 700 or 800 more metric tons would be bought. China led the way. China is now, what is this, a fourth or fifth straight month? They actually picked the pace up and bought 25 metric tons. Singapore also added to their holdings. Turkey added to their holdings. All in all, Jason, I want to say it was another 52 metric tons bought by central banks. And this was a February number.
Yeah, we're not too far away here in America from the all-time record high on spot price. It's an any day kind of thing. We could break past that, and then what happens to the price? And so I think you're right. If prices keep pushing up, then we won't break a record. But there's still 9 months left in the year, Joe. So that record, you never know when things go even more in the wrong direction. How much that record buying they could beat that record, Joe. It's possible. I know it's slower than last year, but it could happen.
Well, right now, here's the funny part. Right now, they're above last year's pace in the first 2 months. Because remember, it really picked up towards the middle of last year. We'll see. Jason, you're absolutely right. Listen, we get more financial problems, more banking problems. You're right. Central banks will be like, I don't care what the price is. That's what I want to be in right now. And then you got to remember, guess what else we get this week? Here's something interesting. Maybe you're interested in this. Janet Yellen is going to unveil the IRS's new long-awaited $80 billion spending plan as its new funding to beef up enforcement and taxpayer services. And like I said, already the staggering amount of IRS agents coming. I'm going to tell you right now, they're not sitting there going after billionaires. They're not. Sorry. Matter of fact, the IRS has already admitted, hey, it's going to be the same percentage that we've always used, which means, the guys, you know what? You're not a 90%er. You're an 80%er, 85%er, 70%er. Anybody above the 60% line, expect an audit coming within the next 10 years. That's just my call, Jason.
What was that term you just used a moment ago about how it sounded so nice the way they're going to come and pressure you for tax money? It's the loan shark sending the collector to thump you on the head and get their money. But what was that?
Rocky Balboa. Rocky Balboa is coming to break your thumbs. You know what I'm saying?
But they said it so nice. Like they didn't even say coming to collect overdue taxes. It was such a soft term you just read. It was
well, they're going to beef up enforcement and taxpayer services. See,
taxpayer services.
Taxpayer services.
They're helping you. They're giving you a service.
What you mean? You can actually call somebody? Have you ever tried to call the IRS? What an exercise in futility that is. But in the prepared remarks, the strategic operating plan will outline the agency's overall plan in greater detail. And they're saying that they're going to invest in data, yes, in analytics to help it audit large corporations, high earners, and complex partnerships. Boy, that sounds great, doesn't it? I can see a lot of idiots out there going, yeah, that's awesome. Now, let me tell you what they're going to data mine. They're going to do that. And they're going to be data mining all of your stuff too. All of it. 800-951-0592. $20 gold, $2,495. We're winding back the clock for you today. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason wrapping it up here on a Wednesday. Then we're going to switch over to the half-empty cup, and we got Gene Kuntz today, so that should be a good one. Gold's up $1 here, 2024. Silver's at $25.12. Wall Street, the Dow's up 30. The Nasdaq's down 20. I'm sorry, the S&P's down 20. The Nasdaq's down 168. And again, we've got we're rolling back the clock to last Friday. $20 Liberties, $2,495 today at 800-951-0592. A little bit of bad news for Jay Powell. Obviously, oil inventories not what they wanted to see. Jefferies is warning that airlines are going to have to be ready to pay significantly more for jet fuel. As once again, we heard about these jet fuel shortages last year. Jeffrey says inventory levels have not recovered enough, and they expect more of the same, Jason.
More of the same. That's going to be kind of the theme of the show the last year or so, or maybe even the last 2 or 3 years. It's more of the same, right? It just keeps on pouring. Usually these cycles kind of come and go. So there's kind of a dead part of the cycle, and then it comes back. But everything we've talked about, Joe, there's more bank closures, there's more stress in the markets, there's more commercial property problems, there's more problems economically day after day after day. It just never ceases, Joe. The first few years I did this, there was economic stress. It's just not a good system. But I'll have to say, 2022 and especially 2023, it's like every day. It's like there's a lot of heat on what to do with your money and an awareness that I think is starting to be hitting the average person. That hasn't happened since I've been watching this show. Which is people are starting to wake up a little bit when it comes to do something with your money, more than I've seen in the past years.
Yeah, you think about, cars. Are we getting to the point where buying a new car will be a luxury? Like only rich people would buy a new car? I mean, we're talking about new car prices that now are going to be over $50,000. $50,000, and that's not, and I wouldn't even call that a luxury new car, $50,000. But I mean, this is kind of what we're talking about here. This is very quickly, look at homes, right? They're so unaffordable. No one can afford them, right? Especially with the inflated prices. Now you throw the mortgages on top of it. And these things that used to kind of signify, hey, I'm middle class or I'm upper middle class, is now going to be considered a luxury in the future. And I think that future is probably now.
That future is now, Joe. I was just thinking as you're talking about cars, just thinking to myself, I'll bet the junk car business is probably a good place to be right now, because more and more people are going to stand those used cars.
Maybe.
Things wear out and you need parts, right?
They consider, whoever did this study, and I would tell you who, I'm getting it from the Hill. I don't know who did the study here, but they said that a new vehicle priced under $25,000 is what they consider to be affordable makes up less than 5% of all new cars sold. So it just tells you they hardly exist. And my guess is most of us would probably call those cars golf carts than actual cars. $20 gold pieces, $2,495, 800-951-0592. Jason and I will be back tomorrow.